questions? You guys are good? Okay. So for the next two cases, case 2 and case 5, I think we're going to do the calculations, and I'll leave the balance sheets for you guys to practice on your own. So let's do case 2 then. Does anyone still need this? Okay, this is in the solutions, you guys, so. Case 2, everything else is the same, except the parent paid $76,000 to get 80% of shares. Okay, again, we're supposed to get to the balance sheet. Before we can do that, what's the first thing we calculate? Goodwill, and we need NCI. How do we know we need NCI? We bought less than 100. Excellent. Okay, what are we going to... for the goodwill calculation? Well, let's write the cost of the investment. We know was just as a reminder, okay? You don't have to write it. I put it there just as a reminder. But for our actual goodwill calculation, what do we start with?
The implied value.
The implied value of the sub, okay? Normally we'd start with the fair value of the sub. But in order to do that, we need to know what we paid plus what the NCI shares were worth. Did this question say anything? Oh, and NCI shares were trading at whatever? No. So we start with implied value. Now, how did we calculate that? If this represents 80%, what represents 100%? So how do we calculate it? 76,000 divided by 0.8. Everybody good with that? I think in the notes I did a little ratio, right? To show you mathematically. You guys don't care, you just want to know how to get it. That's okay, been there. Okay, so implied is going to be 95. So now, without looking at the question we just did, case 1, go ahead and see if you can calculate goodwill if you got it memorized yet. It's a little repetitive because you're using the same numbers for a lot of things. And I'll put these numbers back just in case you need them. Okay, you guys, what you get for Goodwill? 15,000. Did we expect that the minute we did the implied value of the sub? Yeah, because 95,000, if it's the first line in your Goodwill calculation and everything's the same, you're going to get the same Goodwill. Okay, so it should look something like this. And again, you guys, this is in the solution. Remember the thing that messes people up is debt and whether it's a debit or credit. So, and also you check out any other kind of intangible asset. Okay, what would be our next calculation before we can do the balance sheet? NCI. And we need it this time because we bought less than 80%. So we will do NCI calculation. Now NCI is a 1. If you know the value of the NCI shares, so it says, and the NCI shares were 716 trading on that date and continued thereafter. Then NCI would be number of shares times the 760. Do we have share price in this one? No. So, no share price for NCI shares. So use
as opposed to the fair value of the net assets, or even the share price. wouldn't lose that.
Say that again?
If you do know the share price, what's the formula?
Oh, then it's the number of shares times the share price.
Two forms.
Sorry?
Like I have one of them, NCI% times the fair value of the subs and assets.
Okay.
And another formula that's NCI% times the fair value.
Okay, that first one, we'd measure the fair value of the shares on that date.
That's different than
Just
this.
what page, are you on notes somewhere?
Yeah. 7.
What page? Sorry.
That was on page 7.
Notes.
That's the IND.
Oh, that's a good point. You guys, let's put this
And we're doing FVE.
FVE. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. I forgot about the old INA. Okay. Excellent point. Thank you. Okay, so NCI equals, what's the percentage? 20% times the implied value is which equals a number, 19,000. Down here, check page 7 of your notes. For INA. Okay. Everybody good with that? Okay. So let's, you guys do case goodwill calculation. So the two things that are going to be changed are the top number and then probably goodwill. Well, it is for sure, I can tell you that. This is one of those where you should get negative goodwill. So case 5, we paid $63,000 for 90%. Okay, so you should get negative 10,000 for negative goodwill. So again, you guys, this is all in the solution, so don't feel like you have to rush to copy it down if you haven't done so, or haven't done the question. So these are all the same, that's why I didn't put the little plus and the debit. Let's say this number here would have been negative, it's 12,000. Does that mean you have negative goodwill just because this is negative? No, because okay, it's not till the very bottom line. So what I want to know now is on the parents' books, what entry do they make for the acquisition?
They credit the cash gain.
Perfect. Credit the cash for 63,000, what they actually paid. Then they credit the gain on purchase of okay, I get that. What are we going to debit then? Investment. Good. And that's just to fill in the blanks, so that's 73,000. Oh, purchase. Or acquisition, some kind of gain. Okay, so our second calculation is NCI. We don't have the price of the NCI shares. So we're going to take the percent times the implied value. So what's our percent? 10% times the implied value way up at the top was 70,000, so 7,000. Does that make sense, you guys? For this one, you guys finish the other cases, you can do your statements. If you want, these were the critical pieces. What I want to now is look at problem 4-9.
Before we move on, can I ask a question?
Oh, sorry, yeah, definitely.
Consolidation entries.
Pardon me?
Debit the inventory, plant, trademark, long-term debt. We credit that could also be retained earnings because of the gain. The consolidation entry for the bargain purchase. Are we crediting retained earnings to make a balance because of the gain? Or just-
Yes, because retained earnings would have changed, yeah.
Yeah, so that's on this entry here and make a balance.
No, it would be here,
There.
not in the consolidation. Because the NCI part's going to go in and balance against the investment.
On the consolidation entry,
Yep.
what do we need to use to make a balance? Because we have $22,000 the change in net assets, and a $12,000 acquisition. We did 10,000 more credit company.
Let me just think about that, okay? And I'll look at that in a sec. Yeah. Sorry, guys, my brain is not in closing entries right now. It's on the next question. I just want to start this. So problem 4.9, this is one of your ones in your Connect. And I picked this one. Whoops, hold on, let me clean one. Okay, so here's Percy and Salt are parent and sub. Here's their balance sheet, so it's carrying value. And then down here is the fair values. So, normal, right? You're used to. In addition to the assets identified above, Salts, the sub, owned a town. It expires in 9 years. We won't worry too much about that this chapter. They're selling for $40,000. So, do you think that is an asset, an intangible asset you can put on your books as a purchaser? Yes. Okay? If you're, there's different rules for intangibles when a company owns them and they created them, like patents, trademarks, that kind of stuff. If you, way back in 315, steps to look at when you can recognize them on your books. As a purchaser or acquirer, as a parent, there's kind of a different set of rules. It's like you look at it and go, can I package that thing up and sell it a certain amount? And if it's, I can't remember the words, identifiable asset on its own that you can sell, then you can add it, okay? So in this case, taxi license is there, because notice it's not up here in their balance sheets. Okay, so for whatever reason, it's not there. Be something more like a patent or something like that. Okay, so January 1st, year 11, they pay $175 cash to acquire 70% of the common shares of Salts. Trading Salts' shares were trading for $20 per share just after the acquisition by Percy. Okay. So, I picked this one. Do we know the share price of the NCI shares? Yes. So this is our kind of third way of calculating, okay? So, goodwill calculation. Because you've always got to do that, always. So we're going to start with the fair value of the sub. And remember, this is FVE unless it tells you otherwise. And for the whole rest of the book, all the other chapters are never going to mention INA again. We're just going to use FVE. Okay, so the fair value of the sub, we're going to take applied value. I'm sorry, the price paid. Take that back. Price paid plus value of the NCI shares. Okay? So that's what we're going to start with. So what price did we pay? $175 is what we paid. What were the NCI shares trading at? $20. Here's the question. How much? How many shares?
3,000.
In total, but how many is the NCI shares?
3,000.
3,000, perfect. Because we know that 7,000 is 70%, so we can solve for X to make 30%. However you want to think of it. A lot of times they're paramount, 70, so the rest has to be 3. Okay, and that works out to 235. Now, you will notice in the text, especially in the solutions, they show you one section for the parent, one section for NCI. That's just confusing. Just do it all in one. Okay? As long as you get the same goodwill, you're good. Okay, what's next? Less carrying value of subs, net assets, or just of sub, whatever Connect has you pick. So assets minus liabilities, 176 minus 60 gives us 116, and you guys can look that up. And that's our 80. Everybody good? Okay. I want you to calculate goodwill now. Go from here and calculate goodwill. I'm not sure if this will fit on here.